Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us for another episode of Tallawah, the podcast that features Jamaicans locally and internationally who are innovating and dominating in their journey to success. Most importantly, they are doing so based on their own definition of success.
Welcome to Tallawah. I'm your host, Latoya. Today's guest is Kwame, who is a prolific writer, mentor, author, who recently published his book, My Date with Depression. How are you doing today, Kwame?
I'm wonderful. I'm brilliant. I'm fantastic. I'm superb.
Awesome. Great. Now, Kwame, we're just going to kick off this interview with your book, which is very pertinent in this time. We're dealing with depression, and people think that when they hear depression, that men don't deal with depression. But you wrote a whole book about your experience. Could we expand on your book and also your experience?
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, when I wrote that book, it was based on me having an outlet of sharing my experience with myself, to tell you the truth, because I was writing that for myself. I was writing it for myself. And basically to look on what I had experienced going through that particular journey and where I was at that particular time when I was writing it. And I didn't know coming out of that it would resonate with so many people. The difficulty that I was having in terms of what I was going through was my inability to express my emotions, the situation I was in, the stress, and everything that went with it, everything that was basically negative, really. And so it was hard at the time to express that feeling, because men on the whole, and me at the particular time, we're not taught how to express our feeling, express our thoughts, express the stress of the challenges that life has to offer. So we tend to internalize. And in my book, I have explored that historically, especially for black men, because black men, I want to talk about black men now, and especially men from African Caribbean in particular. And I believe there's a particular historical link to that. But I also think that going through away from that is that the societal pressure that we're under, and trying to live or show what a man is supposed to be, quote unquote, and that having an impact in itself on men, and it did have on me at the time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you think that being that men are taught and known not to express their emotions, does that make depression a bit harder for them?
It does, because remember, men aren't taught to cry. We weren't taught to cry. And growing up in Jamaica and growing up as a young man to become a man, the society itself is hard, if that makes sense. So in a sense that a man can't show that side of him which is affected or impacted upon, because he'll be looked upon as being soft. He'll be looked upon as being, quote unquote, a woman, soft, and because the society itself is harsh in that regard. So and judgmental too. So yeah, it's difficult to express when you're in a situation like that, and it becomes a part of your nature, becomes who you are as you have those experiences. So we don't express, and then what happens is it manifests in a way which is very negative, which we don't like, and it can tend to be an explosion of emotions, whether good or mainly bad, really. So so that's, unless someone knows himself to a great extent and can deal with what he's going through, but 9 times out of 10, the manifestation of that internalization is negative.
All right. Can you share some of the responses that you've received about your book so far from men?
It's been great. I've had responses from internationally, really. I've had responses from men who I don't even know reached out to me and basically said that, the book has empowered them. I'm telling something that they want to express, and they find it difficult to do. So, and I wanted to have read my book and see similar patterns to their own lives and trends, so they get to understand their situation that they're in and being able to come through it. So I've had a number of men actually open up to me as a man, because one thing I've also realized is that even though a woman loves us, and even though we may have a woman amongst us, if a man is not aware of who he is, he won't express how he's feeling to that woman who's closest to him. He will express to a friend, maybe a male friend, or maybe express to a female friend, but he won't express to the woman who's closest to him. And that was one of the things that I realized. And I've found a number of men and women who come to me based on their partners or they're supporting a friend, and glad that I have written the book that I have, because there's not many books about black men, and like I said, African Caribbean men in particular, that talk about his project experience or any other experiences that we may have, you know? So it's something that is not the norm.
Yeah, definitely. And just listen to you speak, I have an idea. I don't know if you've done it, but I'm thinking that you could actually start a support group for men dealing with depression online. As you said, Caribbean black men.
Yeah.
It just came to me.
That's a good point. And it's interesting because the book, in terms of the book was written 5 years ago, actually. And I had lost the transcript. The manuscript. I had lost the manuscript, and it was only last year, November, I was able to find it because I was talking to a friend of mine on Facebook actually, and I saw, because I had a USB and it had corrupted, so I lost everything. Even my laptop had crashed and everything, so I lost all the manuscripts and everything. So it's only last year, November, I was able to refind it because I was talking to a friend on Facebook, and I saw that I sent it as an attachment to him. And that's when I downloaded it and realized that now is the time for it. So you know, there will be a time for a support group, an online support group, that's for sure. But that's a great idea. It is a great idea. Okay,
awesome. Where can we purchase your book?
It's on Amazon, basically. You know, goes direct to Amazon. It's there on Amazon. I'm also intending to do a bit podcast and stuff like that, but that's something that's evolving. I'm also reconstructing my website, so there's quite a number of things that I have to do in terms of supporting the book, but it's right now it's available on Amazon.
Okay, what's your website?
My website will be called KwameMchPherson.com, so it's KWAME MchPherson MchPherson.com, but like I said, it's under construction because I have to revise it and revamp it.
All right, so we'll look out for that and definitely will support the book. My date with depression, from mental uncertainty to self-fulfillment.
To self-fulfillment, yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on to the question.
Right.
You've done a lot. You have a lot of experience. You've traveled the world, and you've done a lot in writing, researching. You have an MBA. Could you tell us more about what you've done career-wise and what led you on that path?
Oh, wow. Well, I haven't traveled the world yet. I'm in the process of being in a number of places. In terms of career-wise, all right, professionally, I worked mainly in the public sector. I had migrated out of Jamaica in 1985. I had worked at Caribbean Broilers, did a lot of apprenticeship work in terms of building work whilst there. Then I migrated, came to the UK. I ended up working in the public sector in a nutshell because it's right across the board in terms of the public sector, civil service, housing association, local authorities. So I have a lot of professionalism in terms of public service experience. Out of that, I got bored, really, to tell you the truth. I just couldn't bother with the 9 to 5. So I ended up being an entrepreneur. So I worked with a number of partners and collaborations, and it's across a number of spheres. I worked in the financial industry in terms of pensions. I worked in network marketing. I worked in motivational and personal development. So it's quite a number of areas career-wise. But what has now been fulfilled is my love and career as a writer. So that is now manifesting itself, and that is where I get a lot of my satisfaction from. Mm-hmm. Because I not only write for myself, but I help other people to write and publish. So that is satisfying, to see someone actually attain their own goal and dream. Yes, that is really satisfying, and helping them to accomplish that objective, and to see how it manifests for them too. So that is awesome. That's really fulfilling. Okay, that's awesome. And you started doing that later in life, right? Yeah, I did. Even when I was growing up, primary school, and really at primary school is where they write compositions and essays, poetry, that kind of stuff. Even when I got to high school, I didn't follow it up. But one of the subjects that I did do very well in was English language and history and geography, and those are the three main areas which I do love, really. So it's only when I left, like I said, when I left Jamaica and I came to the UK, that I was writing a lot of poetry at the time. And the poems that I was writing when I was in the civil service, someone saw it, I remember, and they said, why couldn't I just do a personalized poem? Which means creating a poem based on a loved one, for example, and getting characteristics of the person and putting it into words, and then put it into a card, and they have a personalized card. So I did that, and somebody saw it, and they were quite pleased, and that started out the poetry side. So I started writing down poems, really, and then it turned into prose. So I decided to do longer stuff, and the longer stuff actually, both of them I've won awards in, and yeah, it's been, and but at the time it was just a hobby. It was not a business. I didn't think of it as being a entrepreneur career, because at the time you don't think of writing as being a career, a business, you know, especially back then. But now, since the evolution of the internet, then you can actually see how you can actually create something from it, which I'm now doing, or which I've done. So everything moved on later on in life, and I've now found my real passion and my purpose.
Your real passion and your purpose.
Yeah.
The kind of work that you wake up every day just looking forward to doing, and also feeling like it's not work. It's just your way of living.
Exactly.
It's awesome. That's something that we talk about at Tallawah. We started this podcast because we wanted Jamaicans here and abroad, and everyone, to see that there are different avenues of success. It doesn't have to be traditional. It doesn't have to be something that, you know, your parents say you should do or anything of the sort. It's something that you can live and be happy with. And happiness is something that we want to promote at Tallawah. Success doesn't particularly mean that you won't be happy. And you're living your dream, writing, doing what you want to do, and you sound pretty happy about it.
Recently, I won an international award, so that goes to show that obviously the manifestation of what I'm doing is wonderful. But the thing is, what we tend to, and especially in Jamaica, I think it's now changing to the mindset, in terms of changing in regards to careers, in terms of people now realizing that, because the internet has enabled a lot of things to happen. We're now living in an age of creation, so to speak. So you can virtually create anything that you're passionate about because of the internet, really. And I think that when you start to realize, or when we start to realize, or other people, when we can get our young people to realize, say, listen, you don't have to do the traditional things like you said. You don't have to be a liar, doctor, you know what I mean, all these things. You can be something which you can actually create based on your love for it. You know what I mean? So that's where it's at right now. It's where we're in the space where, in a creating phase, we've had the industrial revolution, but now we have the information revolution. And the next revolution, I believe, is a creating revolution, where you'll be able to create from just a simple idea because the beauty of the internet.
Cool. All right, so we've spoken about some of your successes. Let's speak about some of your challenges. That's one thing that we don't speak about enough. People see it at a certain level and say, "Bomba, this is supposed to easy for him, make it him good," but then they don't see the process. They don't see what's happening behind the scenes, right? So what are some of the
Oh man, what are some of the challenges?
That you thought would break you? What are some of the challenges that you thought would break you?
Well, let's see. When I started out, when I was a professional actually, and I was working in a 9 to 5. And it was in the 9 to 5 that I became stressed out, ended up having high blood pressure, ended up being sick. It wasn't a conscious decision in terms of realizing that was not the space I was supposed to be in. But what I was doing a lot of was personal development. So I was listening to a lot of Les Brown, Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, T. Harvey, those type of people I was listening to. And the friends that I had around me and partners I had around me were also that mindset. But it's almost like you're trying to find your way, and when you're trying to find your way, that's when the struggle comes. So you try everything, like I said to you before. I was into network marketing. I was quite on various other things to try to find what I was supposed to be doing, what will get me to where I need to be. So that was a challenge. It was trying to identify the purpose of my life purpose, you know. But within that, the answers were there, but I just didn't see them, you know. So in the end, it was basically, and to tell you the truth, even as a writer, if it's not, because in creating the writing as to become a business, you have to find a way in order to get the writing out there, which people, probably see your work and buy your work and so on and so forth. So that in itself is a challenge. So it's being able to get traction of the passion and having people believing in you. To ensure that the passion manifests itself. Because I tell you, it's not an easy road. It is not an easy road, but I would not go back. You know what I mean? Even if it's not an easy road, I wouldn't go back. And yeah, the challenge of you know, not having money in your pocket, or you know, barely having a roof over your head. You know, those are the things that come with being an entrepreneur, really. But it's an entrepreneur or anything else. But it is like those stories that you hear. You hear this, you don't see this, what people have been through to get where they are, but there's always a story behind it. And yeah, the challenges have not been easy, but I've overcome and I'm still here. You know, and it's only better to come.
Okay, you're still kind of giving me surface level. I realize when I ask people about their challenges, it's kind of hard for them to speak about it because you're not in the phase of you know,
challenges anymore.
Yes.
It is. And so, okay, take for example, like I said, sometimes when I have no money in my pocket, I barely have a roof over my head, like I said before, and you can't see what's gonna come. And so, for example, there's times when that's happened to me, and out of the blue, someone will come up and say, "Oh, Kwame, listen, I'd like you to help me to do some work on writing my book." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And bam, that's an income. And then what happens from that is that you get referrals. You know what I mean? So then you start to see that trickle coming in. The other thing what I realized about the universe in particular is that even when there's times when I don't have money, I'm still thinking in terms of abundance. Even if it's, so for example, I'm in the UK. So even if it's £5 I get, then it's £5. So for example, there's times when I'm a football referee. I'm a qualified referee, right? So there's times when, like I said, I have no money in my pocket, and then a friend will come out of the blue. I said, "Yo, I'm gonna have a game for you now, 2 games," and that's like £100 in my pocket right away. So that's what I'm talking about. So those challenges come, but I don't think about the challenges anymore. I know that there's a bigger purpose for it. So what my life purpose is, where I need to be, and what I need, and what I'm doing. Then the money itself comes. And now, like I said, I'm seeing a bigger manifestation of that instead of winning an international bursary.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of seeing that challenge for what it is, understanding it, giving thanks and being grateful for the challenge, and being thankful and grateful for the people around me, because I'm not doing this by myself. There are some really wonderful friends and family that I have around me.
So true.
Because they believe they see me and want the best for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
true.
And that's the beauty of going through the challenges, is that you have good friends around you who support you and believe in you and believe in what you're doing. So that's how I overcame the challenges. But there have been some tough times, really tough times.
Yeah, but there was always a breakthrough.
Always a breakthrough. And like I said, because I'm passionate about stories, I love stories. And the passion for storytelling, as you probably see from my bio, I'm a griot, which is a Ghanaian word for storyteller. And as a storyteller, and because I love stories, and I'm realizing that stories are fundamentals of how we live our lives every single day, then I'm realizing that my entire world is my market. So my life purpose is to touch as many people's lives as I can through storytelling. And that is where I have overcome my challenges, because I've stayed focused on that purpose. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's manifesting itself because I stay true to who I am in that regard. And that's why I'm passionate about it.
Okay. That's pretty awesome. We're so happy and proud of you. I know you personally, so I know a bit more about what you're going through, and also what you've accomplished. And proud of you, my friend. Go and do your thing.
Funny thing is that, because what I did mention, that international award, I'm the first Jamaican to win it. Not many people, as a matter of fact, the National Library of Jamaica knows now, but not many people have made a lot of people know yet that I'm the first Jamaican to win that particular award, an international award. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah,
really
that's awesome.
You know what I mean? Really, really proud of that.
Yeah, that's great.
That's a manifestation, like I said, of taking the life purpose to another level,
I will speak a bit more about manifestation later on. I will say, though, being a writer, you come on the program, so you can't come off without doing a reading or a poem or something for our listeners and viewers.
Let me see if I can find something. I'm going to read to you what I am really, really, really good at. well, I'm like I said, I'm good at telling stories, but I'm going to read to you, which is something called flash fiction. In this environment, in this time of immediacy, a lot of people nowadays can't read something that's too long. You know what I mean? Sometimes they just want to read something that's just quick. So out of that is what it's called flash fiction. Now, it's something new. I don't think a lot of Jamaicans even know about flash fiction, to tell you the truth. But it's something new in regards to storytelling. And a number of international organizations have this now as a way of people telling stories. It's the ability to tell a story in a finite number of words. So some places will have like 500, 100, 250, 500, 3,000, and 5,000. So you have to be able to tell a compact story within 100 words. Or 250 or whatever. So my ability is and what the particular award that I've won is for me to be able to tell a story within 250 words. I don't know if this one in particular is around that, but I'm going to read to you a particular story. It's titled The Decision. Right? It hurts, he moaned. 20, dreadlocked, tall, strikingly handsome. Is it like this all the time? Tony hated how it ended, yet swore he wasn't to blame. After all, he only wanted everything to be in place. He was a Torian, for heaven's sakes. A rampaging bull at first, then a pick up the pieces after kind of guy. A slow, methodical thinking never a part of his makeup until now. How I wished he could have turned back the clock, saying what needed to be said, rather than follow his words. But it was already too late. She was gone. As he strolled, his question remained unanswered. The crystal blue sea lapping at his ankles. The sky its mirror image. A few scattered patrons were across the golden sand, lounging, laughing, frolicking, young and old, having fun by or in the warm Caribbean Sea. A group of children screamed nearby, their parents reprimanding them as parents do. He glanced over. A tear squeezed from an eye. Gruffly, he swiped it away. It couldn't appear to be weak. Not now, not ever. What would she have said if she knew? He smirked. Would she even give a damn? She hadn't disappeared before. So why would she now? Would she even know? How? He stared at the onrushing swing, but maybe today was when he found out. Slowly, he waded one step at a time into the surge. He reached his knees, then his waist. He dove in, wondering what she would have said.
Wow.
At the end.
That's good.
Yeah.
You ended on a cliffhanger there.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing with the flash fiction. So, like I said, that's just a short snippet of one that I did. It's supposed to tell a story within, like I said, a finite number of words, and that was 250.
Yeah, that's pretty great. No, I'm sure that our listeners would want to know, after you doing that reading, they would want to know where to find you online.
Yeah, they can find me online virtually anywhere, really. It's LinkedIn, it'd be author Kwame MchPherson. That's KWAME MchPherson. Facebook, the same thing. Instagram, it's the same thing. Twitter, it's at Kwame MA. And my email address is Kwame McPherson @gmail.com. It's KWAME McPherson MchPherson @gmail.com. And YouTube is the same, Kwame MchPherson, and you'll find see me reading poetry and that kind of stuff. So I'm right across a lot of the social media platforms.
Okay, great. So we'll definitely follow and connect with you.
Thank you.
So tell me, I know that you're a pro-Jamaica, and I see you posted all over your Facebook. You're always sharing something about Jamaica and sharing your passion. And also, we've had conversations where we talked about seeing the best Jamaica. Tell me, how has being a Jamaican contributed or added value to your life and your writing?
That's a nice question. Being a Jamaican, we have a richness, we have a vibe, we have something which we've been bestowed with. We have a blessing that I don't think the majority of us understand or realize. The potential and the power within us as an individual person, as a Jamaican, is so huge, it's unbelievable. So And there's something which I've realized when I went back to Africa. Actually, I went to Ghana on a trip a number of years ago, and it was there that I realized that the type of people who came out in the end at the Jamaican end were the ones who were more or less, I don't demean anyone else, but we're the ones who were head and shoulders above everyone else because of that particular vibe, of that particular thing that we have, if you want to call it a thing. So it's enriched and empowered my writing, my storytelling, being that Jamaican, and I've been able to traverse, using that background, I've been able to traverse. So, for example, the story that I just read not too long ago is where you hear the story, but you don't realize that it's a Jamaican story, the way it's been told or the way it's written. So I've been able to bring that aspect into my writing. And everything that I write in particular, you won't know what the type of characters are until you get some clues within the prose or within the manuscript. So, and then you start to begin to see, and you can formulate a picture. But a lot of my writing revolves around that and bringing in Jamaica into it, or the Caribbean. So it helps. And it gives a different perspective to somebody who's writing, who's reading. Because they may have a way of thinking that it's set in, I don't know, the West, set in UK, America, Canada. I wouldn't actually realize it's set in the Caribbean, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And Jamaica in particular.
I have a question. I know that you've seen a Jamaica that I had never experienced, and I was speaking to Diana the other day, and she was telling me that Jamaica was different than now, and it's not something that my generation would know, because Jamaica that we know is a Jamaica that we've seen. What makes Jamaica different now than in your childhood, teenage days?
You know what? It's not just the Jamaica thing, and that's the beauty of traveling, the beauty of seeing that. What has happened is that because in my time we didn't have the technology that exists now. That's the first thing, right? So growing up, so we are more or less the bridge between the old and the new. My generation. My generation is the bridge between the old and the new, and we bring what we know from that time to what we see now. The generation now only sees what's new. So they have no understanding of, obviously won't have the recollection of what was gone before. So technology is the main thing that has shifted that whole dynamic, technology. And we are able to see that because, like I said, we're the bridge between the old and the new. And that's the only thing. And because of technology, the way it is now is that it's created a distance. Because when we were growing up, I should say, for example, we were, as young people, where I used to live off Malines Road, we came together and we formed a youth club as young people, talking about 13, 14, 15, 16, going right up until young adulthood. We actually created our own youth club. We had our president, our treasurer, our secretary. We went on trips right across the Jamaica, not who was, we created our own parties, like Valentine party, all sorts of stuff as young people. But then, back then, young volunteerism was much more dynamic. So you had 4-H clubs, you had debate club, you have so much more to pick from then. Kiwanis clubs, so much more active in schools and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more dynamism in terms of volunteering. So, and I think, and like I said, but technology has taken that away to a great extent. No, not that it can't happen. As a matter of fact, it could be easier. But because technology has caused people to think and to communicate and to be distant from each other, that's the reason why it's different today.
They had more of a community then than now, in terms of face-to-face and
totally. Like I said, the technology didn't exist and now didn't exist then. So we had to organize, for example, like the discussion that you are having now. Before we'd have to use a telephone, right? Or if I was in Jamaica, we'd have to have it face-to-face. But no, we can do it. So that these are things that have come in the way of us getting together to a great extent.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it can also be easier because you can have group chats and that kind of stuff. So, but it's just a matter of, I think what's also missing is just having that dynamism in terms of organizing things to make things happen. Back then, we had so many of us who were leaders, I guess, and that's why we could make things happen.
And she also mentioned that she wished we could see the Jamaica that she experienced, which was cleaner, more caring. It was more peaceful. Of course, we hear that a lot, and so forth. She said that the beaches, even though she don't want to swim in any beach because it kind of, you know. But back then,
I wouldn't say all the beaches.
seven,
Some beaches that I know that are pretty nice still.
yeah, so she would say like a 7 mile look totally different, like much more beautiful than it is now. But I think 7 mile is pretty good right now. All the beaches and falls that I've seen.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I completely agree with you. And like I said, it's I wouldn't say things that we were more caring. And like I said, it's no fault of anyone. The issue that I have personally, and I've always said, even when they came with when we started to have cable, I remember when cable started coming to Jamaica, and I said to myself, if it's the same cable that was shown in North America, we're gonna have a problem. So said, so done, because there's a breakdown in social structures in terms of morality, you know. And that's the same thing with technology to a real extent. It has caused that breakdown. If you look at the places where technology hasn't encompassed everything, you know, probably Cuba is a great example, even though we know China to that extent, even North Korea, even though we know the type of political structure that they have, they'll be able to control the feed and drip feed of technology will come out. Because of the society that we live in, we embrace it as it is. And I think a lot of that has caused a drift from, you know, that caring, because there's no boundaries anymore. You know, some people have to live, so to speak. And I guess that filters into everything that how we interact with each other and everything else. You know, it is what it is. You know what I mean? We just have to adapt. You know, know what has gone before, embrace what has gone before, and try to use the lessons from then for now. You know what I mean? That's all we can do.
Yeah. What would you like to say to Jamaicans here and abroad about creating their own paths for success and happiness?
Easier to do. It is so much easier to do now than it's ever been. The beauty is, and what I found in terms of my journey and my experience of traveling and meeting different people and going to different places and even my own life experiences, is that, and as I touched on about technology, it can be good and it can be bad. I would say that the time that we're living in is the best time in terms of the ability to create what somebody wants to create for themselves. No longer does anyone have to go into a place and work, for example. And I'm going to give you an example about that. There's an issue that came up, a question that came up on Twitter, which somebody I know had posted. And the question that she posted was, because of the traffic that happens in Kingston, for example, or across Jamaica, why don't employers embrace flexi working? Now you'd have thought that now flexi working is basically the ability to come into work later and leave later, or ability to go to work early and leave earlier. That's, you know what I mean? So, or build up the hours till you can have a day off. That's what flexi working is. And for the life of me, I'm saying to myself, that makes sense. But what you have in Jamaica, for example, is this fear of this new way of working. It's going to happen. It's going to happen eventually, and it will have to happen. And the reason why I bring that up is because now we have a dynamic where we have to find different ways of working. We have to find different ways of creating what we need for ourselves as individuals or as businesses. So what I would say to anyone is, once you have identified, or somebody can help you to identify what your goals and passions, maybe your passion is, or your purpose in life is. And even if you don't know, there's ways of finding out what that is. It doesn't matter what you like doing, for example. It could be as simple as speaking. You know what I mean? Once somebody has identified what that purpose is, there's nothing stopping them from following it through right to the very end in terms of taking it to a worldwide audience. So it's so much easier now to do than it's ever been. And we shouldn't have that fear of, for example, we shouldn't have the fear of going to school and not coming up with subjects. The thing about Jamaica is that they put a lot of pressure on you to have subjects. They have to go to school to come up with something because you won't be able to get a job. Me personally, no, I'd say, the language that I would use now as a writer I shouldn't be using, but I would say that basically at the end of the day, you can come out of school without nothing and end up with something because of the time that we live in. Okay. Because you can create for yourself, because you are able to define what you want to do and somebody else doesn't do that for you because the technology is available. So that's what I said to Jamaica, basically. You can do anything you want, really, as long as, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Don't let somebody else define what you can do in your life.
All right. So thank you for that, Kwame. We are so happy that you decided to speak to us on Tallawah. It's been a great conversation. One question to go. If you could ask yourself one question in this interview, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Oh man, yeah, put on the spot. What would it be? Oh wow. Yeah, I guess finding a life partner actually to enjoy the success and the journey that I'm on.
Okay. So, would you like to answer that question?
That's a question I have. That doesn't mean I can answer it.
If you would ask yourself, surely you have the answer.
No, just the answer the question. That's the question. But that's the answer.
So it's the whole.
You don't know me to have the answer.
I know. Probably this is crucial. This is crucial information for our listeners. Probably someone wants to know, how do you go about finding a partner to share this, life with, success with, business, whatever it is.
But it would happen, everything else is happening. So I'm pretty cool with that. So it would happen, It's one of those things that being a writer in particular, it can be a lonely journey, but it can also be a fulfilling one, which it has been, and I'm grateful for that. So what needs to happen will happen in its own time,
So your advice for that is that it will happen.
Yeah, man.
When it happens.
It will happen. It's just a matter of being patient and realizing everything else is manifesting, so that will manifest itself eventually. So it's and it will be for the right at that right time. It'll be for the right person at the right time.
Okay, awesome. All right, so thank you.
Where can I find you guys though?
You can find us on Instagram at Tallawah Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at Tallawah Pod. You can also find us on Anchor. That's your interview will be, as well as YouTube at Tallawah Podcast. So everybody subscribe, follow, like, comment, because we're taking this to the next level. So we're on episode 8. We have 2 more episodes to go in the season, and then we're going to have season 2. So if you know anyone who wants to be interviewed on this podcast, just link them to us.
Does it have to be Jamaican?
Has to be Jamaican. That's our number 1 priority. It doesn't matter where they are in the world, they have to be Jamaican.